All right, guys, it's time to react to and break down all the PFF grades from the Week 4 Sunday Night Football game that ended in a disgusting tie. Packers versus Cowboys, 40-40. And man, I'm still annoyed that this game ended in a tie. Like, regardless, win or loss, we still would have had the same questions entering into the bye week. Like, what in the world just happened with the defense? Some things to clean up and injuries and whatnot. But with a tie, it just feels kind of just unfinished, right? Now the Packers head into their bye week. They have Cincinnati right after. We saw Cincinnati get absolutely destroyed last night for really the last 2 weeks in a row. Haven't gotten anything going on offense. So you would think week 6 after the bye would be a massive bounce back for this defense. But you're still sitting here wondering, how did they just get 40 points dropped on them with a Cowboys team without CeeDee Lamb? And that's definitely a concern. The special teams has been pretty poor throughout the entire season, or should I even say the last decade, if we're being honest. And there's some things to clean up, but at the end of the day, the Packers are still a winning football team right now. They are 2-1-1, and I think they have a lot of good football ahead of them. It's just 4 weeks through the NFL season. We had to pump the brakes a little bit after the extreme amount of hype that there was after the first 2 weeks. Clearly, the Packers kind of came down to earth, and I think they will rebound pretty nicely here in week 6. But, of course, before we get to the bye week, before we get to week 6, we got to break down these PFF grades. So let's just dive into it. Quickly, before we dive in, want to go over my sleeper picks for Week 5's Thursday Night Football matchup, the divisional matchup, Rams versus the 49ers. If you guys want to make your sleeper picks, links down in the description. Use code BASS when making a first-time deposit. Get a 100% deposit match, and that's all the way up to $100. Here are my picks for Thursday. First, we have a free pick. Sleeper often offers free picks almost all primetime games. I have Matthew Stafford more than a half a passing yard. I have Puka Nacua more than 98.5 receiving yards. He's been on fire this year. I have Brock Purdy more than 243.5 passing yards. He's hit over this mark in his last 2 games played. And I also have a Ricky Pearsall anytime touchdown. He's yet to score this year. He's having a really good year, and I think his time is coming to finally get a score this season. This is a $5 play to win a potential $63.30. If you guys want to tail my bet, fade my bet, which is probably the better option, or just simply make your own picks for the upcoming Week 5 games. Now that the Packers don't play, you can have a little fun on Sleeper with all the other games. Definitely go check them out. Big shout out to Sleeper, link down in the description. All right, so let's get right into this thing. Bringing up the screen, we'll go through the defensive grades first. We'll just rip the Band-Aid off. What was considered a top 3 defense in the NFL through the first 3 weeks of the NFL season. Now we're sitting here wondering, okay, are they a top 3 NFL defense considering what just happened to them on prime time against the Cowboys? And Dak's a great quarterback, but without CeeDee Lamb, it definitely gives you some area of concern. Some of the players I thought that played well, obviously Micah Parsons. I think he had about 10 pressures in this game and honestly was held like all night long. I think he's going to have a really good grade. Outside of that, there's not too much grade. I thought Quay Walker played well, but I feel like there's going to be a lot of low grades on this defense. I don't know if I can really put any defensive backs. Maybe Evan Williams, I think, could have a decent grade in this game. So let's just dive right into it. And at the top is Micah Parsons by a far margin. I think that's actually his best graded game as a Green Bay Packer. We can actually look into this. It is. So week 2 against Washington was a 91.3. Week 4 against Dallas was his best grade. So for all the random accounts on X saying, Micah Parsons did nothing in this game. I mean, 10 pressures and a sack is definitely not nothing, considering that when you watch a lot of the tape back, I mean, he was getting hands to the face. He was getting held a lot. And that's what a lot of Cowboys fans are saying. Like, yep, now you guys see it. We dealt with this for 4 years. Now you guys are dealing with it, which, it is what it is. Hopefully he starts getting some of those calls. 94.2 with a 94.3 pass rush. Also had 7 quarterback hurries. See, that's the thing. Dak did a really good job at managing the pressure, getting the ball out right before it happened or right before it ended up in a sack. And the Cowboys did a great job setting up a game plan to not have these pressures derail their offense, although Micah Parsons did a really good job. pressuring the quarterback. Isaiah McDuffie played 23 snaps. He was our second highest graded player. When he's been on the field, he's been a solid player. Edgerrin Cooper at 3 is shocking to me. I thought it was a very rough game for him. I don't know if you guys agree. Let me know down in the comments. But yeah, he had 3 missed tackles. That checks out. He had 6 tackles, 3 missed. That's not a great missed tackle rate at 27.3%. I just feel like he was in the area that he needed to be, but he couldn't finish, and he couldn't finish the play and make the tackle, but he did grade as our 3rd highest graded player. Rashawn Gary, this is also a head scratcher to me, 71.4, but didn't have a single pressure in this game. We can't have this. Rashawn Gary, entering this game, led the NFL in sacks, right? He was playing at a super high level, I think, because guys like Micah Parsons and Devontae Wyatt were taking all the double teams, and Rashawn Gary got one-on-one opportunities. And it's not like the Cowboys O-line was anything great. Rashawn Gary should have at least got, 4 to 5 pressures at minimum. And he ended this game with 0. Now, he did have a good run defense grade, so that's good to see. He had 2 tackles and 2 stops. So, he did have a good game, it seems, against the run. But in terms of pass rush, you need more, pressures out of him in this game. Wyatt played in 13 snaps. You could see how much he means to the defense, because the moment Wyatt left the field, the defense started to go downhill. Is that a correlation? Maybe, maybe not. I think it is. I think he means a lot, and I mean a lot to this defense, because when he's out, you have then rotational defensive linemen playing a ton of snaps like Carl Brooks, Colby Wooden, and Devontae Wyatt means a lot. 70.1 overall grade there. Evan Williams is kind of near the top, 69.3. We also have Lucas Van Ness, 65.4. He had 2 pressures, 2 hurries, also a missed tackle. We do have Carl Brooks with 5 pressures in this game. That's good to see. So although Devontae Wyatt left with injury, Carl Brooks stepped into his spot and had a decent game in terms of rushing the quarterback. You can still see his run defense pretty poor. He's kind of never been known for his run defense, but he has been known for his good pass rush, as you see here, in 82.1 with 5 pressures, 1 hit, 4 hurries, and a tackle and a stop. So filled in nicely there, but we still definitely missed Devontae Wyatt in this game. Xavier McKinney, slightly above average here grade. Hasn't really had that X game that we've all remembered from last year. As you could see here, against Cleveland, a decent grade and that interception, but we haven't really seen X of last year yet. And I think that's also what this defense, definitely missed against the Cowboys, was that top tier safety play. But I feel like the Packers were also not really putting him in the best positions. They were kind of rotating Evan Williams as single high, when it's like, okay, Evan Williams should maybe drop to that rob or drop to the box for a blitz, and X should stay back. He has more range than Ev. And it seems like Hafley needs to do a better job at positioning both these guys. Nate Hobbs, these cornerbacks didn't have a good day, and I'm surprised Nate Hobbs is the highest graded one here, to be completely honest. It's probably due to, his run defense and tackle grades. He had 4 tackles, 0 miss, and 2 stops. So that's definitely why he's up here. Javon Bullard out of the nickel, 58.2. Nixon started this game really strong, ended it poorly. His whole cornerback room just got torched Sunday night, 57.0. Inigbare, 56.8. Colby Wooden, 46.3. Wooden started this year so strong. So strong. And I think teams are finally starting to be able to, move him up the middle and get a running game going. As you can see here, 38.6 run defense grade. Barron Sorrell saw 8 snaps, didn't record a stat. Carrington Valentine was actually our lowest graded cornerback. I think he allowed, we'll look at coverages right after, but I don't think he allowed an incompletion thrown at him. Quay Walker actually towards the bottom here, a little bit of a surprise to me. 10 tackles, only 1 missed, and 5 stops. I thought he was doing really well in the run game, but apparently not. Again, via PFF. Again, this doesn't mean it's not the end all be all, but I thought he did well in the run game. PFF thinks otherwise. And then we have Stackhouse. A lot of people's gripe with Stackhouse was, he's not ready to play. And in the future, you stash him on the roster as a healthy scratch. You let him be inactive, whatever. Maybe he could, learn a little bit more in the pass rush game, get better at one tech. He hasn't graded high at all. Like, he's been one of our lowest graded players every time he's on the field. And a lot of people are arguing, why is Warren Brinson inactive and Stackhouse is active? And some people would say, well, it's because, hey, we don't really have a true nose tackle, one tech. We have Colby Wooden playing it, where Nazir played one tech or zero tech, whatever you want to look at it as, at Georgia. So I get that, but at the same time, He hasn't been playing too well, and I feel like Warren Brinson deserves an opportunity. We'll see if that happens after the bye week. He did have a pressure, though, so that's nice to see, and 2 tackles, but a very, very low grade. All right, so now let's go over coverages. First, we have Keyshawn Nixon, who actually has the lowest completion percentage allowed on him of all cornerbacks in this game for the Packers. Allowed 5 receptions on 9 targets, and that's because he started this game strong. There were a couple plays where he's in man coverage and did a really good job, but then just ended this game horribly against Jalen Tolbert on that 34-yarder on the sideline that, given, was a terrific extension of a play and throw by Dak and an absolutely insane catch by Tolbert. And even if Nixon gave a ton of effort, probably still would have been caught. But you still don't want to see your cornerback just give up on a play and just watch the receiver make that catch. Don't want to see that at all. But Nixon, in terms of, all our corners did allow the least completion percentage, but still allowed 5 catches for 64 yards. Edgerrin Cooper, 5 of 6 targets for 38 yards, not that bad. Nate Hobbs, 4 catches on 6 targets for 55 yards and 2 touchdowns. It seemed like they were running Nate Hobbs in this soft cover 3 outside leverage, which I get it. If you're in cover 3, that's where you're going to be. But you're just allowing both touchdown plays to just run a post and box you out. And then the safeties usually too far over to get to that quickly because you're in the red zone there. Both touchdowns, one to Pickens, one to Ferguson, was the same exact thing. Just run a post. You have leverage on the cornerback, Nate Hobbs, in this situation, and box him out and catch the post for a touchdown. Easy, right? Post route will beat a cover 3 in that goal line situation. I don't know why the Packers were in it, if I'm being honest. Quay Walker, 5 receptions on 6 targets for 49 yards, seemingly didn't have a good coverage game. Carrington Valentine allowed 5 catches on 5 targets for 72 yards and a touchdown. Not a good game for him. He obviously allowed a couple big plays to George Pickens. Pickens had a wonderful night. Javon Bullard allowed 3 catches on 3 targets for 23 yards. Evan Williams, 2 catches on 2 targets for 11 yards. Isaiah McDuffie, 1 catch on 1 target for 0 yards, and Xavier McKinney, 1 catch on 1 target for 7 yards. All right, so now let's flip on over to the offensive side of the football. Don't have too many concerns with the offense in terms of how the players played, just a little bit of complacency in terms of some play calls and certain things like that. But, to score 40 points out there, I still think, if there's another minute on the clock, the Packers would have won this game. And that's another argument, that overtime period should be longer than 10 minutes, especially considering they updated the rule where both teams are going to have a chance with the ball. I think it should be at least 12 minutes, but I digress. I don't have too much concerns with the offense outside of the offensive line still needs to get things cleaned up. I think a lot of the offensive linemen won't be too high up on here. I did see a tweet about Darian Kennard being one of the better pass blocking grades so far this year, so I assume he'll be up here in terms of his run blocking grade, excuse me. But outside of that, I think Jordan Love, Josh Jacobs up near the top, Romeo Doubs, of course. So let's see what the grades are. Josh Jacobs, Jordan Love, Darian Kennard, and where's Romeo Doubs at a 62.8 but scores 3 touchdowns. Okay, gotcha PFF. Josh Jacobs, 81.8. He finally got going in this game, although he still didn't have a crazy average. He still had a couple of those Josh Jacobs runs that we're used to seeing, where he breaks loose to the outside, puts a foot in the dirt, puts a move on a guy, maybe breaks a tackle. We're starting to see maybe the real Josh Jacobs come out, but it's hard when your team is so poor run blocking to start this season. All right, so he had an 81.8, also really good in pass blocking, pass protection. It's nice to see there. Jordan Love, 78.6. I was very happy with how Jordan Love played in this game. When Jordan Love has a clean pocket, statistically, he's like the best quarterback in the NFL. If you look at all advanced metrics, when he has a clean pocket, statistically, he's playing at a very, very, very high level. Obviously, when you get pressured, it's going to be more of an issue. That's the case for every quarterback. But the thing is, he's just getting pressured a lot right now. And the offensive line isn't really doing him much help. At the end of the half, you don't expect Rasheed Walker to get beat by an edge rusher on the Cowboys that barely get any success in the past 3 weeks and fumble the football and give the Cowboys the lead before half and change the outcome of this game. You don't expect that to happen. But outside of that, Jordan Love was dealing it out there. I really liked his timing. His accuracy. I think he was 28 of 28 for everything less than 10 yards. I'm pretty sure I saw that stat, but we could look at advanced metrics right after this to see if that is true. Darian Kennard, 74.8. You do see that run block of 88.8. Wow. So if Kennard has to play some more in absence of Tom, I'm hoping Tom can come back week 6 But if not, Kennard, and then maybe we think about Kennard at guard at some point. If he's this good of a run blocker and Aaron Banks can't stay healthy, Kennard has played guard in his career. Maybe scoot him into left guard when Zach Tom comes back. It's definitely a conversation we should maybe have. Malik Heath played 19 snaps, 71.3. Tucker Kraft, 68.0. Almost scored a touchdown there at the very end. Didn't have a good pass blocking grade, though. Jordan Morgan at left guard was our second highest graded lineman at 67.8. He just played, I'm pretty sure, that only that position. I think the entire offensive line played the entire game. There's no switching or no flopping of anything of that sort, no injuries, which is good. Chris Brooks played 5 snaps. Emmanuel Wilson, I thought it was a wonderful game for him. Good change of pace back to have. Seemed like every time he's on the field, he made a play. 66.1. Rasheed Walker at left tackle surprisingly had above average grade at 64.8, mainly because of his pass blocking grade, although he did allow that fumble. Matthew Golden, 63.7. I like how they're continuing to utilize him more, trusted him on that fourth down, on that, deep stop route right over top of the linebacker underneath the safety and overtime. Really like to see that. Romeo Doubs being below him is crazy. I know run blocking was very poor, and he did miss that block on that golden RPO in overtime that if maybe he gets the block, I think it was Trayvon Diggs just played it excellently. If he did get that block, a lot of people are saying Golden would have scored, but it is what it is. But Dobbs still, balled out in this game, 3 touchdowns. Elton Jenkins, 60.3. Hasn't been a good start to the season at center. I think weeks 1 and 2, I really liked what I saw. But then 3 and 4, it's kind of been like, oof, it's a little rough out there. But did have a really good pass block grade. But in the run, man, he hasn't been at center. Still an upgrade from Josh Myers. Savion Williams played in 10 snaps, 56.5. Started to see some action in the passing game, which is nice to see. Made a couple catches. John Fitzpatrick, 49.4. Dontavian Wicks, 47.4. We have Sean Ryan, 46.2. And Luke Musgrave, 45.7. We also need Sean Ryan to play better. A 40.3 pass block grade isn't going to cut it. When you looked at Jordan Love's, I think it was a 25-yard run on that third down, crucial late game. Sean Ryan got beat instantly, and Love was dead to rights from that interior defensive lineman. It might have been Osa Odighizuwa. I'm not sure who it was, but Love should have been sacked, and it's because Ryan got absolutely beat, but somehow Love got out of there and ran that thing for 25 yards. Ryan's got to be better. And then you see Musgrave, 45.7. All right, let's see pressures allowed and sacks allowed. Rasheed Walker, 5 pressures allowed and a sack. Darian Kennard, 5 pressures allowed. Sean Ryan, 4 pressures. Jordan Morgan, 4 pressures. And Chris Brooks, 1 pressure. So overall, the Packers allowed 19 pressures, 13 quarterback hurries, 5 quarterback hits, and a sack. All right, let's look at the advanced passing stats for Jordan Love. As you can see, when he was kept clean, 25 of 27. 92.6% completion rate, 278 yards, 10.3 average, 3 touchdowns. See what happens when Jordan Love is kept clean. Of course, this is against the Dallas defense. It's not a good one. He should have done this when he had a clean pocket, but Jordan Love has been at an extremely high level when he actually has time to throw and he's kept clean. You could see under pressure, it's a different story. 6 for 16. 37.5 completion, 59 yards. So you could see the difference there, right? The Packers ran 9 play-action plays. He was 6 for 8. They also ran a lot of screens, and they were working. 12 for 13 in the screen game, 106 yards. So worked really well in screens. Passing depth. Deep, he was 1 for 5 for 46 yards. I think it was that early deep shot to Golden/Wicks, whoever Love was going for. Golden came down with it. Medium, 10 through 19, he was 4 for 5. And then, like I said earlier, anything 10 yards or less, he was actually 26 of 26 for 244 yards and a touchdown. So anything under 10 yards, Jordan Love was quite literally perfect. Here is the rushing by direction for Josh Jacobs. And again, you could see where his average dips. It's around Elton Jenkins, 3.5 yards per carry to the left of Elton, 3.8 yards per carry to the right of Elton. Behind or in between Jordan Morgan and Rasheed Walker, he had 8 yards per carry. Behind Sean Ryan, he had a carry for 5 yards. Behind Darian Kennard, he had a carry for 3 yards. Outside of Darian Kennard, 3.3 average. outside of Rasheed Walker to the left, -1 yard. So you can still see where the averages dip. It's right in the middle there, just further showcasing that Elton, hasn't been too good in terms of run blocking. All right, so let's look at special teams grades. This unit has just been extremely poor. Outside of Daniel Whelan, it just hasn't been a good unit, right? We have guys like not returning the kick when it bounces in the landing zone, like they weren't even taught that brings the touchback to the 20, not the 35. That happened 3 times in this game. We still have dumb penalties. We have a blocked extra point that literally changed this game. Without that, the Packers win this game. Special teams, you have to get it together. And I'm talking to you, Rich Basashia. I mean, it's getting old. It's getting old. The Packers have had bad special teams units for like a decade. It's disgusting. I think Luke Musgrave was the player that actually allowed the blocked PAT. I got to watch the tape. I'll probably do my film review tomorrow since we're on a bye week, just kind of delaying everything a day. I think it was Luke Musgrave, which this grade would check out, 26.1. It's just like, man, come on. Like, we can't have a blocked PAT returned. Like, let's be honest. A block that doesn't get returned is one thing, but to have it also returned, it's bad. It's really, really bad. The highest graded players here, Zane and Igbare, still sub 70. And a lot of low grades. You see missed tackles. Javon Bullard had one as well. Just, man, for once, I want the Packers to have a solid, I don't even need to say great because it's not going to happen, but just solid, like top half of the league special teams. Just once. So those are all the PFF grades for Week 4 Packers versus Cowboys. That nasty, nasty tie, 40-40, which is also a scoregami, but still. I think the NFL needs to figure out a way to not have a result of such a, from the outside looking in, high octane type of game, like super exciting game, blow for blow at the end, just end in a tie. It's just like kind of uneventful in the end. And I'm feeling that way too as a Packers fan. It's just like, ugh. You don't really like it. You're just like, all right, whatever. Plus, on top of that, what happened to your defense definitely makes it a tougher pill to swallow as well. But Packers head into this bye here. I'm hoping they can start to get a little bit more healthy. Hopefully, Zach Tom, Aaron Banks can return. Devontae Wyatt, hopefully that knee isn't anything too serious. And maybe we start talking about Christian Watson and his ability to potentially return. And on top of that, the Packers have some things to clean up. I think Jeff Hafley has a lot to clean up going out of this game and entering, post-bye action. And so hopefully the Packers can clean some things up, get healthy after this bye, and have a really, really solid bounce-back game at home versus the Bengals, who are really, really struggling right now. But really appreciate you guys coming by to the video. If you did enjoy it, leave a like down below. Also, if you want to stay in the loop with everything Green Bay Packers this season, I'd highly suggest clicking that subscribe button. It's absolutely free to do. It helps support the channel a ton. You'll get PFF reviews, injury updates, game live streams, tape reviews, game previews. You'll find it all here on this channel. So definitely go down, hit the subscribe button. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching. And as always, go Pack Go.